I'm an addict. My name is Pete. I really don't have a clue how to introduce a speaker, to be honest. But I can tell you I've been in the program for 2 years, and every time I've heard this man speak, it resonated with me. Even before he was my sponsor, I'd sit there and listen, and it sticks with me. So I'm really excited to hear his story. Our speaker tonight is Jeff L.
I'm an addict. My name's Jeff. Gotta find out where the home button is. Okay. Yeah, it's rolling here. Again, I'm an addict. My name's Jeff. My clean date is October 26, 1996. And I say that not really in recognition of myself, but just recognition that the program of Narcotics Anonymous works. The program works. If it hadn't been for Narcotics Anonymous, I don't know where I'd be at. But judging by my peers or so-called acquaintances that I had when I was out there using, they're, most of them dead. I got maybe 2 friends left. They're dead or locked up, and most of them are dead, people I ran with. And so really, sometimes, I don't know if y'all have ever felt like this, but you feel like, y'all, they're all gone. Why me? Why am I still here? Because I did a lot of bad things. You take on a little bit of that survivor guilt stuff, but the truth of it it's just flat out the grace of God. I didn't get what I deserved, and I'm getting what I haven't earned. And that was another chance to live another life. I'm living 2 lives in this one lifetime. My second life started on October 26, 1996. And clean dates are important. If you don't know your clean date, you may not have one. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what we do when we get here. And the philosophy of Narcotics Anonymous is pretty simple. I didn't like it, but when I first heard it, our philosophy is that we believe in complete and total abstinence from any mood-changing, mind-altering substance. Whether it's wet or dry, I'll get you high. Drug's a drug's a drug, and we don't differentiate between different drugs. We just say we suffer from the disease of addiction, and we don't focus on the single substance that we use. And we all probably had our drug of choice. But the focus is that once we realize that we suffer from a disease that's made up of a couple things, obsession and compulsion. Obsession, you think about getting your head right or getting high or getting back to a place of ease and comfort that you once knew, when you got there, and then once you act on it, you don't ever seem to get enough. We need to have more, and you run amok and you do what you got to do to go get more and more and more and more. And I know what my drug of choice was out there, but really, if you want to boil it down, for me, my drug of choice was more, and because I always wanted more. And my second drug of choice was yours, because you still had some left. I was wanting to get yours, no matter what it took to get it from you, too. But the philosophy is that recovery can't start until we stop using. And so, if anybody here is using tonight, welcome. And we're glad that you're here, and we want you to keep coming back. The truth is what will really work better if we try to come back clean. And that's what we aim at, and then claim a clean date and roll with that. When I heard that, it was complete absence from any mood-changing, mind-altering substance, I thought, you got to use something. Something. Don't tell me, they just shut the door on it for me. And but I sort of wanted to hang around. The way I got here was I had a guy that we had dated sisters, and his dad had broke me out drilling in the oil field, and he'd worked for me, and we lived together and same house and stuff, and used together. Then years later, he came and found me. I'd been living on the streets about 11 years. Sometimes when I'd hit a lick, I'd get a motel room, or sometimes I'd couch surf until I burnt that relationship. You know how it goes. And did the Salvations and the mission, the Salvation Armies and missions, and did day labor. That's about all I could hold together, you know. And he called my mother. My mother told him where I'm usually hanging out at. And he came found me. He said, man, I work at a treatment center in Abilene, Texas. And he said, I got clean. And I said, man, won't you give a phone call down there and see if you can't get a bed? I said, man, you know, okay, thank you for that information. And so I went and told my mother about it. And so I made the phone call, and they said, yeah, we got a bed for you. And so I went like 6 months later, because when they said they had a bed for me, I wasn't ready. You know what I mean? It's like, wait a minute, you know, they're going to get me in. I mean, you know, I got a lick lined up, and so-and-so owes me this, and this is coming around the corner, and so I just wasn't ready. But when I did finally get to that point, and it was out of desperation because, you know, I'd rip people off and abscond with their money, you know, and get the stuff fronted to me and burn them at both ends. And the town I lived in, you know, you can only do that so long before people catch up with you. And, you know, I caught the Pumpkinhead a few times. They was getting tired of me at the emergency room. One doctor told me, he said, man, he said, I don't know why y'all don't do your cutting and shooting on weekdays, because it's a lot less busier than it is on weekends. You know, if y'all just do it on weekdays, it'd be better for them at the hospital. But, you know, them jokers up there. And so I really had to come up with a plan. I thought, God, if I could just get some 30 days clean and pass a UA, and I get a good job, I probably, you know, and get a good job and work a couple weeks, and then like sort of stage an accident and get hurt on the job and get a little workman's comp coming in, get some prescriptions. And I'm thinking, you know, keep my habit down, because prescription dope wasn't enough. If I keep my habit down about $50 a day, I can hustle $50 a day real easy. And so that was my goal, you know. And I got to that treatment center. There was a guy in detox. He was dope sick. And I knew how to avoid that, see, because I knew a treatment center didn't know how to detox a junkie like me, so I got my own stuff and carried it with me. I was going to detox myself. And so I snuck it in. And after about 2 days in detox, you know, they keep you in detox for about 4 or 5 days. And the old guy in there with me, we talked about war stories, and we knew a couple of people, even though we lived 150 miles apart from each other. I'm 150 miles away from home in Abilene, Texas, from where I'd lived in Wichita Falls. And he said, listen, I got to ask you something. I said, what's that? He said, you just watch me, and I'm flipping and flopping. And he said, man, I'm sick as a dog, going through withdrawals, and I can't sleep. And he said, every night, he said, the last 2 nights, you're over there snoring like a log. He said, what's up with that? He said, I said, well, man, I know you're sick. Do you want to feel better? He said, you know what? Yeah, I do. I really want to feel better. I said, well, I got some time-release morphine and some Vicodins, and I'll turn you on to one, man. And he looked at me and said, God, he said, yeah, I'd really love that. But I got to tell you, he said, man, I had 3 years clean, going to Narcotics Anonymous. He said, it was the best time of my life. And he said, and I screwed up, and I've been out there using it for a year. And he said, I want what I had for those 3 years. I want it back, man. So I'm just going to go ahead and kick. He said, it can't be more than a couple more days. And I thought, damn, man. I said, somebody, you know, is willing to go through the withdrawals, and he's found something better, and he stayed clean for 3 years. And I said, wow. And my other thought was then, he's going to snitch me off. He didn't take the dope, but he's going to snitch me off. I said, daggum, man, I'm going to get kicked out of here. So I took all my stash, you know. I hung around there the next 2 days sort of nodding out. And on the 5th day, I went to the nurse's station because it was a medical detox. And I said, y'all give something to help people detox? She said, yeah, Jeff, we do. And I said, I need something bad. She said, well, Jeff, you've been here 5 days and you're just now asking. Why are you just now asking? I said, it just hit me real slow. And she said, well, I'm sorry, we don't give meds after the first 4 days. And so my plan on detoxing myself, I'd shot myself in the foot on that one. And I got sick. And then they rolled me over into the population with everybody else. And I had to make all the little lectures and all this and that. And what sort of got me, I was listening to everybody else share about, man, if you mess up, you'll be back out there on 13th Street. My mind said, okay, Abilene, Texas, 13th Street, that's where it's at, okay. And, you don't think you're going to pick up whatever you need, because any kind of information that you need. Because I didn't plan on staying clean. And they made us all get on the druggy buggy, and they took us to the Hope Group meeting of Narcotics Anonymous, took us to a meeting. We all went in there, we'll go straight to the coffee pot and right back outside and smoking cigarettes, and then make us go in for the meeting. And it was a speaker meeting, and this guy sharing, and he more or less shared my story, like being on the streets, and he got cleaned up, and life was good and all that. Then he said he had 11 years. I'm going, oh, he wasn't as bad as me, because nobody used like me can get 11 years. And so I discounted more or less what he had to say, but it did intrigue me because he has shared a lot of things that I went through, and he talked about the obsession and compulsion and not being able to stop, and I could relate to that. And he talked about, that's the disease of addiction. And he talked about that, he wasn't a bad person trying to get good. He was a sick person trying to get better, well, and because he has a disease. And that, explained the disease concept. And they did that too in the treatment center. So I hung on, and I was thinking, I don't know, I probably need to get out of here and get some dope somewhere, and this one girl was in treatment as co-ed. She come up, she said, yeah, you don't like me, do you? I said, well, why is that? She said, you don't talk to me, and she's a pretty girl. I said, I like you just fine, I'll talk to you. And so I had a reason to hang around then, and that was my motivation. And she had some good stuff, and she had a lot more clean time than me, I think 2 weeks. And so she was pretty wise, man. She had it figured out. And she told me, she said, where are you going to go when you get out of here? I said, I'm going to go back home. And she said, no, you're not. You're going to come out to this turnaround house out here. It's an old nursing home they converted to, like a don't use and pay the rent. And I said, okay, baby, whatever you say. Anyway, she got out, and a guy came up to me at a meeting that night, and he said, hey, man. I said, hey, what? He said, I got 17 days clean. And I'm thinking, wow, that's 17 days clean. And he said, yeah, man, and it feels pretty good. And I thought, oh, I just wish I could get 17 days clean. I know I'd feel better if I could get 17 days clean. And so my counselor told me, he said, man, you need to, you're going to be, when you get here, you got to help these new people when they come through the door. And he said, so you're going to be what do you call it, man? Like a counselor in training. You're going to help these people. I said, I sure will. And the first guy came through. After a little while later, I caught him, ambushed him. I said, hey, man. And he said, what? I said, you're new, ain't you? He said, yeah. I said, guess what? He said, what? I said, I got 17 days clean today, man. And he said, really? I said, yeah, and it feels good, And so what had happened, one spiritual principle that we can give each other in programs is called hope. We can give each other hope. When that guy shared that he had 17 days clean with me, I thought maybe it's just possible that I can get 17 days clean. I hope I can get 17 days clean. And so that was a start of it, I hoped that I could. And, I was in a safe environment, and I had something I had my eyes on, and I didn't really want to go anywhere and screw that up. And I made it, and that felt real good. And so when I got out of the treatment center, I went out to that. I got into that turnaround house, and they had like 2 wings of the 5 wings of that old, used to be a nursing home, opened up, and they were working on the other ones. And the proprietor, his name was Richard Kay. And Richard, he's to this day, besides my sponsor, he's one of my recovery heroes. Had a great impact on me when I first got clean. And so I got out there, and he got me a room, and I went to looking for the gal we supposed to be tied up and tight together because I pictured we could want to be honeymooning tonight on the first night I got out there. And she stayed in the women's wing, and man, she done hooked up with somebody else. You know, he had a pickup, had a set of wheels. You know, I didn't have squat, right? So I went to complain to the proprietor, Richard. I said, this old gal down the hall did me wrong, man. You know, we supposed to be together. And he said, well, you know what the 11th tradition says? And I'm thinking, I said, what? What are you talking about, a tradition? He said, 11th traditions states we have a program of attraction rather than promotion. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm telling you, if you clean up, work the steps, and you'll clean up from the inside out, and your light will shine, and you'll attract who you're supposed to. And I told him, man, you ain't no help, man. This old gal did me wrong, right? And I went to meetings. They talked about the 90 and 90, and so I really wanted to do that. And I got a job working more or less day labor again at a shopping center, $5 an hour. I think the minimum wage back then was probably $5.50, but it was cash. And the old boy who got me the job, his name was Travis, and he would reluctantly take me to noon meetings. We'd go to noon meetings, and we worked together. And then I'd talk him into hitting another meeting, you know, after that, when we got off work. And one day he told me, he said, Jeff, he said, man, I need your help. I said, doing what? He said, I need some help to start a meeting. A meeting? What, you talking about an NA meeting? He said, yeah, I want to start a group up and call it the Reaching Out Group. And I said, man, you know, I got like 45 or 50 days. I said, you know, people chairing the meeting seem like a president to me or something like that, president of NA, and it's pretty intimidating. And I said, no, man, I don't think I want to do that. And I went back to the turnaround house, and I talked to Richard Kay, and I told him, Mr. Travis wants to start a meeting. He wants me to help him. And he said, well, really all you need is commitment. You know what commitment is? And I said, yeah, you don't screw around on somebody like this girl did down the hall on me, by God. And he said, well, that's one thing, but commitments really is the willingness to follow through on your decision long after the mood in which you made it in is gone. I said, can I go down the hall, get a pencil and piece of paper? I'll be right back. And I said, now, will you repeat that? And I wrote it down because that was good. And he said, yeah. He said, if you start up the group, you get a place, a coffee pot, and get some literature, you set it out, and be there 30 minutes early. He said, and if nobody shows up and it's just you and the coffee pot, sit there and read literature till the time it closes. And he said, you do that eventually, people will start coming, and it will take off. And I was still a little bit reluctant to do that. And I told Travis, I said, man, I don't know. I just don't have anything to offer. He said, let me play you this cassette tape, a speaker tape. And in the tape, a guy got out of treatment, and him and two other newcomers didn't have an NA meeting where they were at. And they got to a church, and they got turned down. They said, no, we don't NA meetings here. And so they lied and said, we're going to start an AA meeting. And they got started a meeting between the three of them with a little white booklet. And that's a precursor to the basic text. And I thought, well, okay. And that motivated me. I said, let's do this deal. And I'm telling you this because that got me plugged in. Richard told me, he said, man, in that commitment is a worthwhile commitment because you're helping people get clean and stay clean, and you're helping them, you know, stay alive, as opposed to be out there using and killing herself. So it can be saving lives, you know, and it gives you a purpose to carry the message. And that's what our message is in Narcotics Anonymous, is that any addict can not only stop using drugs, you can lose the desire to use. The cravings, the obsessions will go away. Eventually they'll go away. And then you can find a new way to live. And what I didn't put together at that time, the new way to live, was actually, instead of using at life and things that happened at you, is practicing spiritual principles that we find in the steps to cope with life. And that's how we find a new way to live here. And we set our group up and didn't really have much support, but rolled around, I finally got 90 days, and we did birthday nights, and anybody who had any clean time from 30 on up to years can get up there and share how you did it. And they called out, anybody have 90 days? And I got up there and said, I'm Jeff L., and this is how I did it. Narcotics Anonymous good. My life's improved so much, and this. And I went on about 10 minutes. And then everybody got up, and they give me a standing ovation, just clapping. And it was Travis, his wife, and me were the only 3 people at the meeting, you know. But it felt pretty good. And then, you know, they let me taught me how to chair meetings. You know, I was there making the coffee. And about another 3 months later, I got up at birthday night, got my 6-month tag, and I shared briefly and said, just thanked everybody, you know, for helping me get to where I'm at today. And I sat down pretty quick, and they got up and clapped, and there was 40 people there. The group had taken off, and that was a powerful feeling. I know some of y'all in here have been part of starting groups up and stuff like that, and when they take a hold and they grow, man, it just feels amazingly cool to have been a part of that, because, you know, we're helping each other stay alive in here, and it takes each and every one of us. And when I say that, I really mean it, because we need everyone here, because your voice may be the only voice that someone else can hear when you share it. They might not can hear me, or I can't get through to them. Lance can't get through them, Pete, Megan, Jenny, but maybe it's you. And that's why we need you, because it's going to be persons in here that can only hear you. And that's why we need you in here. And, you know, if you're new here, what I was told, they told me, said, put the guns down, man. You know, the war's over. Said, congratulations, you lost. You know, the disease of addiction kicked you to the point where you have surrendered. But by surrendering, you've joined the winning side. You know, welcome home to Narcotics Anonymous, where you never have to use again. And I heard that, I liked that, and I could feel it. Also, another thing to help me out early on is people started remembering my name. Like, I came to a meeting a couple times, and then they said, "Hey, Jeff, how are you doing?" Man, I didn't know them. I didn't know them from Adam, or, you know, I'd seen them briefly. Like, might slightly remember the face, but people remember my name, and so that felt good. And that guy that I heard speak that first meeting I went to, his name was Big John. And I told one of the guys, I said, hey, I'm thinking about asking Big John to sponsor me, because he had a lot of clean time. And one guy said, no, you don't want John to sponsor you. I said, why not? And he said, well, number one, he calls all his sponsees his babies. You want to be called one of John's babies? And I said, oh, not really. And he said, and also when John hugs you, he just hugs you and like almost gives you neck sugars. It's cheek to cheek, you know, the way he grabs you up. And he's a big man, Big John. And I said, yeah, I don't really like that too much. But you know what, man? I asked him to sponsor me anyway, and it was one of the best things I could have ever done. And he never gave me any neck sugars, but he hugged me like he loved me, you know. And he took me to places, conventions he'd speak at, and campouts, and he helped me work through a lot of things early on. And he, especially relationships, because I'd got into another one, and then that one fell off, and that was tough. But, you know, I got involved, chaired meetings, and then I became the group service representative. And then after that, I was the literature chair, and then I was a treasurer. And then I attended area meetings and got involved in service. My sponsor, after Big John, I asked Big Lou from San Angelo, Texas. I relocated from Abilene down to San Angelo. And Lewis and I would go to area meetings and regional meetings. And the region we were in was the best little region in Texas, stretched from Amarillo down to Del Rio and out to El Paso. And so we were in for long drives, and that allowed me and him to, you know, get to know each other pretty good. And in all the little towns in our big country area around Abilene, within a 90 to 150 mile radius, if they had a function, we'd go support them. we'd load up, man, turn into asphalt addicts. A bunch of us jump in the car and we'd go support other people's meetings, and they'd come support ours. And our network got bigger. When you do things like that, when you attend area meetings, or if you go to conventions or speaker meetings, you go to other groups, you develop other relationships, and your family gets bigger. And you never know where you're going to end up at. You don't. So those relationships that you make early on, I've had them, really benefit me later on when I moved out of town and gone places. That I'd met people at different functions, and so really, it truly is. It's like you're never alone. But Narcotics Anonymous is a place where you can go anywhere in the United States or the world, and you can find a meeting. And then, it's like you're not sure whether this is the place or not. You're at the right address, and you look, and there's somebody standing out there smoking and digging in their butt, and you're going, oh, yeah, that's my people right there, man. You're home. You can find them. God's children know each other, when you pull up. You know where you're at. But so, this fellowship, man, it's really cool. And but you got to participate. People can't read your mind. If you're thinking, man, I'd really like to go to a meeting, or I'd really like to go over here, you got to ask somebody if you ain't got any wheels. That's what I had to do. I learned that the first night I was there at that turnaround house. I thought the people I'd been in treatment with was going to say, Jeff, we sure are glad you're over here, and come go to a meeting with us. And nobody did. And if it hadn't been for other fellowship having a meeting down in one of the pool, the game rooms down at the end of the breezeway, I wouldn't have made that first meeting the day I got out of treatment. And so I finally asked the next day, and after a while, I didn't have to ask anymore. People included me. But I had to ask at the beginning, because people don't know, and then I moved to another town, College Station, Texas, and I got there, man, and it was cliquish. They would go out to drink coffee and go to the restaurant. They'd go to the movies. They'd go bowling, and they never asked me. And I called my sponsor and told him just how stuck up and cliquish they were. And he said, they won't let you into the circle or into the mix? I said, nope. And he said, well, you need to step into it then. He said, you know that, don't you? And I said, well, I don't think they'd let me in it anyway. And he said, go ahead and ask. I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and do it because you asked me to. But they ain't going to let me participate in jack, because, man, they hadn't asked me yet. I don't think they're going to. And then what I did, I asked, and they were going out to the restaurant, and one guy said, well, you know where it's at? I said, no. He said, well, let me drive you, and then I'll drive you back over here. And then after that, they included me too, and I didn't learn the lesson the first time around. When I was new, I waited to move to a different town. And so I was told reaching out, it's the end of the struggles that'll set you free. It's the beginning of the end of the struggle that'll set you free. And the first hand around here is going to help you is the one at the end of your own sleeve, and you got to reach it out. And I do that today. I've got a lot of good people. I've developed really, really good friendships since I've gotten here. People that are actually for you, and that will help you, and that believe in you, and you can share your dirty laundry with. I'm careful about, who I share things with, but I've worked through so many things. I really don't have any of the secrets that I used to have when I first got here. They're not that big of a deal anymore. But I had to have somebody I can confide in. I'm just not going to confide with everybody, but I've got quite a few people I can do that with now. I got some really good sponsees and grand sponsees, sponsors and sponsee brothers. I attend a men's meeting once a week with a group of guys. They're all in recovery, but it's not a recovery meeting. And we just get together for the fellowship. We've been doing that for years. And also, me and my sponsees, we do a Zoom meeting every Monday evening. We started that about 4 months ago. And you know, this is a different day and age as far as getting out and fellowshipping with people. We do have to be careful. I remember early on, this lady named Jonna took me to a convention, and me and my girlfriend, and she told me to put my seatbelt on. And I'm thinking, man, I don't need to put my seatbelt on. And she said, did you get clean just to die in a car accident because you wouldn't put your seatbelt on? And I said, oh, okay. So that was right, you know. And now in this day and age, you know, with this stuff going around, we have to be careful. And my daughter came in from out of town. She works on the weekends and does college during the week. And she, after being home about 30 minutes, she got a phone call, and somebody that she worked with kind of tested positive, so she'd been exposed. And I'm going to be very careful of what I'm doing. That's why, you know, I'm not doing any hugs tonight. And it goes all the way back to what Jonna told me. You know, did I get clean just to die of this COVID? No, I'm going to take precautions. I'm putting my seatbelt on. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm doing. Wouldn't y'all think so? And you don't want to take anybody else out, do you? You know, and I've got other people to think about other than me. You. Because I value y'all. Y'all are the people going to keep me alive and help me stay clean. And so I don't need to be, you know, giving anything off that potentially could take your ass out. That'd be sort of like insanity, you know. In the basic text, it talks about, well, do you want to walk up to somebody, ask them, hey, can you give me a heart attack, or would you ask for a heart attack? It's step 2 stuff, right? And no, you wouldn't do that, but that's what we're sort of asking for. I am, if I don't take precautions. Well, I don't know how I'm working on this, but another thing that I talked about early on about the grace, you know, allowing me to live long enough to find this deal and get this deal. I didn't know how it really worked until I had about 6 months clean, and my sister got married, was getting married, and so I went to the wedding back home, my hometown, and after the wedding was over, we was at the reception at this church where my mother and my sister, they'd gone for years and years and years. And a little old lady come up and asked me, she said, are you Wanda's boy? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you're Janice's baby brother? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you're the one. And I said, the one that what? She said, you're the one we had on that prayer board all those years. And I thought, oh my God, you know, she said, you know what, your name was gone one time, but it wasn't long, and it was right back up there. And, you know, she's this little bitty old bent over, gray-haired old lady, about 85 years old, and bless her heart. And that sort of got me. I thought, wow, I never knew that. You know, I had a lot of people praying for me and didn't even know it. And what I got to thinking about was some more of that shame, that guilt, or that remorse, because of all the nights that we were MIA and not available for our family, and our family's trying to reach us and say, where are you at? What happened to you? You know, where are you at? I hadn't seen you 3 or 4 days. We didn't have cell phones. I didn't have a cell phone back then, but they maybe somebody had a brick, that was it. But your family that worries about you, your loved ones worry about you, whether they think you're in a ditch somewhere, in a hospital, or dead, you know. And night after night after night, I didn't contact my family for months at a time. And so I put them through a lot. And what had happened is that my mother, she told me that she gave smooth out with me, along with the rest of my family, but they didn't give up. They did the only thing they could do, and that was just pray for me. They wouldn't help me. You know, I'd ask them, hey, buy me some insulated coveralls and steel-toe boots so I can go to work. I'll go trade that in for a lick. They knew the games, and they quit enabling me, and they gave me tough love. And that helped me get to the point, you know, to the bottom a little bit. But I asked my mother about them praying for me, my name being on the prayer board, and she said, yeah. I said, it's been up there for years, Jeff. And till you got clean and straightened up. And I said, that lady said it was gone, but it was right back up. And Mother says, no, it's never been gone. She said, oh, yeah. She said, you were in prison, so we knew you were okay, so we took your name off. When you got out of prison, we put you right back up there. And that was another thing that got me. You know, your family thinks you're safe when you're locked up. You know, and that hit me hard, too, that realization, what I'd put them through. And I don't know where I'm at. It's gone on for a little time here. It'll be, in June, it'll be 6 years. I met a lady at a Normal Winter fundraiser. And I'd almost decided to be a confirmed bachelor. You know, I've been in a lot of relationships and stuff. I did get married when I, early on in recovery. I don't know, I may have had, I think, almost 4 years clean. I went with this old gal for 3.5 years, and we talked that's me, ain't it? 10 minutes. I'll tell you this real briefly, but we talked like we get married when she get a year clean. It took 3.5 years. And then she twisted off about 3 months after we got married. Took her to treatment center. She bailed out of there in 3 days and told me that she knew what was wrong with her, what's always been wrong with her, and she finally figured it out. I said, what's that? She said, I need to have a relationship with a woman. And I said, okay. And she said, I met somebody in treatment. I said, okay, in detox? She said, yeah. I said, well, bring her on home, baby. And she said, I'm not doing that. And I'm really glad that she didn't bring her home, because when I finally seen her several months later at a convention, she was a weightlifting little, military chick, and like wasn't really too pleasing to look at. So I'm glad she did me a favor by not bringing her home. But anyway, so when I got divorced, the judge said, hey, y'all can't work this deal out? I said, no. He said, what do you have, irreconcilable similarities or differences? And I said, no, we have irreconcilable similarities. We both like women, okay? And he just shut up and signed the papers. So I met Casey, and we dated for about, a little over a year and a half. I watched her to see how she handled situations, see how she treated her family, her coworkers, how she emotionally reacted to things, and most of all, what I watched was if she hit the solution on her challenges in life, and she went to God a lot, and she had a God, and I wasn't it. It was very attractive to me, and she'd gone through some problems, and she had was working herself back into her career, and man, she handled everything really, really well, and helped a lot of other people. I just found out a lot about her after I met her, and so I decided she was one, man. I was going to go for it, and we got married in March 2017, and it's been good, man. It's been good. We bought a home over here in Yukon, Oklahoma, and I started attending the Way Out West group quite a bit. And my home group, I haven't let them know yet, my old home group, that this is going to be my new home group. And it's taken me a while to get around to it. It has been, I think, in my heart for a while. But we bought a house here and got a couple of kids living with us. They're twins, 18 and a half years old, going to college and working, and really good kids, and they've been a joy to be around. It gave me a new purpose. I didn't know what a purpose of being a parent was, the purpose, behind being a father, and that's not going to stop. That purpose is not going to end either. Just like carrying the message of Narcotics Anonymous, it's never going to end. And that's been a huge blessing in my life, And we're doing good, and we're learning how to squabble fair, fight fair. And instead of, trading licks from things in the past, we try to fight about what's going on right here, right now, instead of bringing stuff up. So, we're learning how to do it. It's been pretty cool. But once again, man, if you're new here, golly, just welcome home. This is the place to be, man. It really helped me out. And like I say, gave me an opportunity to live 2 lives in 1 lifetime. It would really, behoove you if you gave it a whirl. And there's only one way, to find out that it's whether it's going to work for you or not, and that's by working at the program just to see. So thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to share.